All right. So, after a long hiatus, because of a multitude of issues, we are back. To the audience, my cat got paralyzed from the waist down 2 weekends ago, and so that Monday, immediately preceding that weekend, I just did not have it in me to podcast because I had been tending to the cat, taking him to the vet, getting things handled, and I was in Tulsa for a good part of that day and had to drive back down. So that was the reason we did not podcast 2 weeks ago. And then the week after, I think Wyatt and I were both incredibly busy at work, and so it just didn't work out. But the good thing is there wasn't a lot going on in the news, and frankly, there's not a ton going on in the news right now either. But there are some things that are kind of interesting that we've agreed upon that we want to opine on. And the first one, the one I kind of wanted to uh, hit on first, is that these this Venezuelan boat holding 11 seafarers, I guess, was like missile striked by the U.S. government, and allegedly they were Tren de Aragua narco terrorists. However, that claim seems rather dubious. That claim by the government, that is, seems rather dubious upon even mild scrutiny. I've heard it said a number of times that, typically those who traffic narcotics don't want to carry 11 people in their boat because, well, that's less space for cargo. So typically, a vessel carrying, trafficking a lot of drugs will have a light crew of maybe one or two people, just enough to man the ship and all of that, while also, mitigating the risk of more of their associates being caught in the act. So I find it dubious that these were actually drug dealers. I think these were people that maybe they were trying to get into the U.S. Illegally, but they probably were not trafficking drugs. Do you concur? What do you think are the odds that they were even trafficking drugs?
So I'm actually agnostic. I think we've probably read the same articles that said that, why would you have 11 people if you were trafficking drugs? Because most of the time they're just trying to shove as much dope on there as they can. And then like B, here's what it seems more likely to me, right? Is that this is just to send a message to Maduro is what it seems like it to me. Um, I do not buy that these are narco terrorists, because if they were, then Donald Trump and Hegseth would have came out in a press conference and said, "All right, we have just like Obama did for um what's his name, Osama bin Laden. He'd come out there and say we had a targeted strike on narco terrorists. Here's who we intended to kill. Here's how we struck them. Here's how we know he's dead, and here's how we know that it's him." Right? So if this was like a high level targeted strike, then we would have more receipts, I feel like. Why would Donald Trump and his administration not bring the receipts? So I find that claim, or that fact, aids the claim that this is not a drug vessel. But ultimately, I mean, I don't think the American people will ultimately care, because if you can't prove that it wasn't, well, then it may as well have been, according to these people. So I'm not saying it should be that way. I'm just saying that's how they're gonna look at it.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, the outrage about this particular incident has pretty much already died. I don't really. I mean, at this point, very few people are even discussing it anymore. So, uh, yeah, I don't think there'll be any accountability for it either way.
Oh God, no.
But okay, well, let me ask you this though, and this we can get into the more ethical, philosophical discussion. If they were drug dealers, so say they were, you know, carrying a bunch of cocaine or whatever. That I mean, I guess Venezuela. That's probably what their cargo would be. Say they had a bunch of cocaine on the boat, would it have been okay to missile strike them then? What say you?
I am unclear. I don't think so though. I think that the general protocol and to remain compliant with international law, I think because this was happening in international waters, I think you have to have the Coast Guard of the United States Navy police it, not strike it, right? This is not these drug dealers and these drug traffickers are not the same entity that is like ISIS, ISIL, Al Qaeda, that type of stuff, right? Where their intention is violent, right? So I think so. If you wanted to strike these drug lords or these kingpins or these cartel traffickers, I think you would need congressional approval according to the Constitution. Now, in my opinion, let's say you could prove without a shadow of a doubt it was cocaine, they were drug traffickers, and they were in international waters. I do not think the American people would give a single fuck if you shot them out of the water. I just don't think so. But if it was like, for example, if this was a Joe Biden administration and they did this, I would be screaming in horror at the administration because you're supposed to have congressional approval for shit like this. We want to act that way. So I would be upset, but I ultimately don't think the American people would care.
Yeah, I mean, also, if if you could prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that these were in fact, just people who traffic in narcotics, then I would be basically totally fine with missile striking them. I mean, does the crime really amount to that? Well, maybe. I mean, if any of it had any trace amounts of fentanyl in it, then how many Americans will they kill by importing this stuff? Now, it might not have that fentanyl, but yeah, I mean, I guess now we're in the realm of hypothetical, so maybe it doesn't do any good to be like, well, what if and what if, but yeah,
Well, no,
I mean,
I think those situations can be important, but you're telling me you would be totally cool with the president striking a drug trafficking vessel in international waters, or are you just saying in general? Like, say they were in Venezuelan waters, but they're let's say that it was proven that they were heading towards America, right? Just hypothetically, you would be okay with a targeted strike on that vessel.
well, here I have these prima facie considerations. So, like, uh, okay, obviously, killing drug dealers is a net societal good, like in a vacuum. Like, obviously, drug dealers are not
Well, the
good
in a
for
vacuum
society.
is doing a whole lot of legwork right there.
Well, okay, yeah. I
You know
mean,
what I mean? You just took all the scrutiny out of the argument with that statement right there. That was slick. I like it.
I to a larger point though, because it deals with foreign affairs. Uh, let's say, for the sake of argument, which I believe it to be the case, that if you killed all drug dealers or Thanos snapped them away, this would basically be a net gain for society, and there would be little loss.
I agree.
Now,
For sorry, go ahead. Not to cut you off. Go ahead.
okay, you're fine. You're fine. But what complicates the matter is that it's drug dealers of a different country, and we're already entangled in Ukraine, in the Middle East. I mean, war with Iran is projected to maybe start back up later this year, uh, based on intelligence reports I've seen. Well, articles reporting on intelligence reports. Not only that, we're supposed to be containing China, and because of Trump's buffoonishness, that's not going well. So now we're going to add Venezuela into the mix when it was already such a failure in the first term because Trump's actions pretty much directly led to the Venezuelan refugee crisis that we faced during the Biden years and to an and currently to an extent the flow has stopped but the people are still here largely. So I just think it's a bad idea to be poking the bear with Maduro. I mean, even though Maduro is not like a threat to us, it's like why even like make things? Why get entangled in this? You know, there'll just be more Venezuelan refugees. Now there's all these Venezuelan nationals in our borders. Like, okay, like what if they get really pissed at Trump killing their countrymen and start taking matters into their own hands and doing terrorist attacks?
Well, the Stephen
You know,
Miller
I
in
think.
me, the cynic in me, says that that would only help your cause, not hurt it.
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, I
In
could
a
see a Stephen.
Machiavellian sense, right? Like,
Absolutely, absolutely. I
you got to
mean,
let
I
a
could.
little chaos happen, so that way you can bring the hammer down. That's like fascism 101, right? Isn't it?
Yes, yes, it could be a Reichstag fire for well, I the Reichstag fire. It's contested. People think that scholars say that Hitler didn't actually directly cause that he just took advantage of it. That it actually did happen organically, but that's another matter, I suppose. I'm not going to go
Uh,
into that.
I would say in the year 2025, it is indifferent who actually started the fire. Um, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so like basically, all that being said, uh, I'm against drone striking, shooting missiles at drug dealers while they're in their nation of origin, but or country of origin. But if they're in international waters, then I don't think you're poking the bear too much if you shoot them in international waters. To me, that seems like total free reign, pretty much. I mean, try to prove that at least for PR purposes, that they are drug dealers. Try to provide receipts, but I mean, I just don't see how anyone can have any faith in this administration that those were actually drug dealers, even if they were. I just kind of don't
Well,
believe them.
here's
You know.
what doesn't make any sense to them or to me, right? Is that Donald Trump says we have them on tape talking. Pete Hegseth said he knows exactly who these people are, and then he provided no list of who they are or how he knows that they're drug traffickers. Or they didn't
Yeah.
release any of the recorded tapes. And I understand that there could be intelligence reasons not to do that, but we'll talk about it later. But it's called a reconstruction. You can do a reconstruction. So like whenever you're watching Fox News and they have something leak and they pull up an image, you're almost certainly not getting the actual, raw footage or the actual raw text because they have to, for security reasons, redact the raw text and they have to reconstruct it so that way, national security isn't threatened. It's still the full text. It's just, Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
you're not going to convince me that they can't do it. So it's a choice not to release it, and I'm just like, why? Is the goal literally just to spur controversy and then at a later date be like, aha, here's the proof? Because they do that a lot. This administration, they're like, well, why won't you show us the evidence? And they're like, well, what do we owe you the evidence for? And then 2 weeks later, they'll show you the evidence and make you look like a jackass, right? That's like their strategy. But
That could be it.
but I don't think that this current administration, like the 2024 administration, is that smart. You know what I mean? Like that's what, you know, the woke rhinos did in the previous Trump administration, right? They're too stupid to do that here, you know?
Yeah, I don't think there's much forward planning with this particular set of people in the administration. I'm kind of thinking like, well, it could be the case that maybe if I'm trying to apply some logic to it, which might which might be silly, but it could be the case that maybe they did it in order to maybe they really are trying to start something with Maduro, and so maybe these really were civilians, and he's trying to get Maduro to like attack a ship, and then they'd have all the pretext they need. Or well, it wouldn't even really be a pretext at that point. I mean, they'd have all the reason they need to invade Venezuela and do a regime change, which I'm not totally opposed to. It's just we seem so entangled in these other things. It doesn't seem like something wise to do at this moment in time.
Right. Well,
But
especially when your
Venezuela has a lot of
campaign
oil.
slogan, part of your campaign slogan is "No New Wars," right? Like,
Yeah,
which he's already
yeah.
broken. I just want to, say that. But, it's one of those things that, like, even if you don't want to count Iran, then okay, um, a full out regime change in Venezuela would definitely count.
Oh, certainly, certainly. I mean, that would be the definition of what we, or well, I didn't vote, but what everybody voted against. But
Yeah.
I mean, I will say though, from my own perspective, I'm not totally against it. In principle, it's just because
It's who's doing
Venezuela
it.
is rich. Yeah, I mean, Trump is so incompetent; he'd no doubt mess it up. But I mean, they have a lot of natural resources we could exploit. The oil.
The oil.
Uh,
Yep.
oh yeah, that is what I'm really interested in. So
Yeah.
I'm all
And
for taking their resources, but
we really have to be careful too because they if they get in some sort of military alliance, whether it's with Brazil or God forbid if they ever get one into China, I mean that's a dangerous country to have in a military alliance with China right there. And luckily administrations, Democrat and Republican have kind of prevented that alliance from even like getting off the ground, you know? um, because Venezuela is a lot closer to America than people think. So it would be a great deterrence if they were in a strong military alliance with China. So we just got God forbid they get put in that.
yeah, I mean that is the concern. I mean, I'm sure they at this point they have to do a ton of trade with China, along with so many other South American countries. That's why I'm okay with just going in doing regime change and picking people that we want because I feel almost as though we're losing control of our half of the world to China.
Right.
And I get that we're no longer like the manufacturing powerhouse we were, so naturally they're just going to do more trade with China. But I don't like China having more influence. I don't want to live in a Chinese dominated world. So
At least in our hemisphere. I feel like we should own, very Monroe-esque, right? But I think that we
Oh
should
yeah.
own pretty much. Now, unfortunately, that does require being friends and allies with, you know, Central South America, right? I mean, hell, even Mexico and Canada aren't really our. I wouldn't say we're on the best of terms right now. So, yeah, I'm totally fine with what you just said, but I'm just saying that like I don't know if Trump is capable of that unless they just just suck up to him.
I don't know. Trump is just so bad on maintaining good relations. Uh, Speaking of like, just to pivot a little,
Sure.
speaking of China and all that, and a Chinese dominated world, China, I believe, yeah, it was China that hosted it. The leaders of Russia and India, and I believe even
North
North
Korea.
Korea.
Yep.
Yeah, I believe Kim Jong Un was there, and yeah, they all had this like summit in China. It's another one of these things where Trump is just screwing the pooch because it's like India, we should be playing India against China. You know, they would be great allies to have in the war against China if that ever kicks off.
Oh,
That
absolutely,
historically,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But for a number of reasons, the instability, the trade war, Russia makes total sense. Russia and China being friends, total sense, makes total sense. But I mean, losing India. Oh, give me a break, man. I mean, that's unbelievable. Like I don't know what to say actually. Because that can you imagine the aid that would I mean, you'd have China basically surrounded. So, yeah, it makes
oh yeah,
really no sense to me why you wouldn't want them on your side, or at least why you would let them go away so easily. So, yeah, I completely agree.
definitely.
Huge blunder.
Not to mention the manpower. I mean, imagine if there were actually a ground war with China. I mean, we would need. I mean, India would be a huge asset. They have more people, you know, that they could mobilize. That could be the entry point. We could dock all our ships in India and then start marching through to get to China. So I mean, in all respects, India is somebody we need to keep close. And I get that, maybe people are not a fan of having a ton of Indian migration into the U.S. I'm certainly not. And, I'm sure everybody's annoyed with the call centers and the scams. But all that aside, this is a country of people we need to be playing against the Chinese, if we ever hope to contain them. I mean, it's just a terrible blunder. I mean, I don't, yeah, it's like
No, I
the things
completely
Trump,
agree.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, and even the things Trump says, he fired off some Truth Social post, something about the Russians, Chinese, and I don't know if he explicitly mentioned India, but it's obviously implied how they're conspiring and behind his back, and it's like there's just no decorum with him, and it used to be like kind of funny and cool, but it's just terrifying now that I mean, I totally get why the liberals were going crazy in the first term because
Yeah,
it
no,
really is terrifying.
I mean, I was listen when I was younger and I was a young MAGA guy too. I thought it was cool. I was like, dude, isn't this funny? But like, I don't know. I guess like whenever the seriousness of these matters, like when you pick a president, I mean, the dude's that decision is going to impact billions of people. And if you think I'm kidding, like just look at this recent trade war. That I mean, that's literally affected every single person on the planet except, a couple of countries. So, if you don't think that that's going to have downstream effects on literally billions of people, I don't know what to tell you. And I just think that responsibility alone should probably have a heightened level. I did not think this back then. I did, but now, I feel like that responsibility should have a heightened level of like respect and decorum, like you're saying. So I just don't feel like he really sees the gravity of this situation, just of being president. So it's embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly. And the stakes for him in some respects are just so low because I mean he's made his millions, billions kind of. So I mean, if the economy just goes to crap, I mean, he's not going to be all that affected. So, but it's us that really have to worry about all this. So,
Right, yeah, and that's why old people don't care either. All they care about is as long as their 401ks don't go belly up, we're gonna be fine. But hey, just a side note, just to kind of give people an idea of like what a joke the Trump administration is. Did you see that New York Times article that broke about the SEAL Team 6 mission in North Korea? Did you see this?
I saw this, but I've only got like a surface level. Yeah, I didn't
Okay,
I
let
didn't delve into it
let me
that
just
deep.
let me just delve into it a little bit just for the audience, and this will just make a quick point, just because it's the absurdity is crazy. So, when Trump and Kim Jong Un were scheduled to talk, and they were supposed to be talking about potential denuclearization in exchange for free trade, open, basically like, hey, you give up your nuclear weapons, we open up world trade to you, that type of thing. To get a leg up in the negotiations, the idea was is that we're going to send SEAL Team 6 in there, and we're going to implant listening devices, and we're going to listen in on like all your prep work and get a leg up. Why that decision was made is ridiculous. People said the New York Times heard this story in 2019 when this event happened, and they didn't believe it because they said there's no way the foundation doesn't even make sense. So they're like, what? So they sent a submarine into international waters, and then I guess these submarines can have mini submarines on them. So they deployed from that, eventually got close enough because these things, even though they're mini subs that can carry about 6 people, they are still like they can't get very close to shore. So they still had to swim a couple hundred yards to shore. And as soon as they get to shore, they turn around and they see this boat shining flashlights into the water. And apparently, from the water, it looks like they're shining lights like right on the sub. And they immediately shoot at the boat, and then they swim back to
Yeah.
the boat, and they're like, "Oh shit, these are civilians." And so the pl-
Oh my.
the mission then becomes shit, we have to hide the bodies, destroy the boat, sink the boat. And then I didn't remember what they did from there. They definitely did not carry on the mission. The mission became, oh shit, we're compromised, this is now the mission, right? And it's one of those things. This disaster got reported to the New York Times in 2019. They literally didn't believe it because they were like, there's no effing way, dude, there's no way. And sure enough, a couple of years later, the same New York Times reporter, because now all these same, Department of War now, we can talk about that too. Department of War people are now back in, and they start bringing it up as if the New York Times guy already knows. And he's like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. That's a real story? It's unbelievable. They had no concept of like keeping that a secret. It's unbelievable.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if that just doesn't say it all, the incompetence. I mean,
I
oh
mean, it's
my
just
gosh. I'm surprised it didn't become a bigger incident. I'm surprised it stayed hidden this long because I mean, I'm kind of just surprised Kim Jong Un didn't cause a stir
yeah,
over this.
it's unclear that he was aware of it. Also, like it is very unclear that the North Korean government was aware that this happened until the New York Times article too. So the fact that they just openly admitted to killing North Korean fishermen, I believe it was North Korean fishermen. Um, I only say that because I think there's some restrictions on when you can fish where, but you know, listen, shit like that happens, but like the fact is, and several, like once they got like some Obama era and some Bush era, like Department of Defense people on it, they were like, this would not have even been allowed to be tried. And Trump greenlit it. That's the other thing. Like this was a plan greenlit by the president because it has to, right? Like, how are you going to have this plan without, getting a green light from, Trump?
Oh,
Just
certainly. I mean
just
that.
unfucking believe. Could you imagine what would have happened if that would have went public right before nuclear arms talks? Like that's the risk, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, uh, they were just. I mean, I'm glad that if it had to come out, it came out now, as opposed to like in the first administration. But my gosh, I mean, yeah. If that were happening, if Kim Jong Un knew, and
Like
then while the
imagine
news.
this, right? Imagine this. This is just a quick analogy to just help the audience understand. So imagine if when Putin came to the United States to talk about, peace talks with Ukraine, imagine if we had sent like SEAL Team 6 and they accidentally killed Russian civilians in an attempt to plant listening devices on the Russian envoy. Could you imagine what that would have done for peace, right? Like could you
It would have. It would have. It might have started a war. I mean, truly. I
Absolutely.
mean that's certainly an act of war. So
Yeah. I mean
it
just
is just crazy that.
yeah, that story is nuts. And I apologize for the tangent there. I saw that story and I was just like, this is absurd. I have to mention this.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad you did. I mean, I I had no idea it was that bad.
I mean this is like Signal if Signal had consequences almost. Like it's like, oh my God.
Oh
Like
yeah, for sure.
but
Yeah, I mean, because Signal was embarrassing, but this is like.
oh yeah, people died because of this. Just some poor. Now listen, in the defense of the SEAL team, it was the middle of the night. It was completely pitch black. The only thing they saw was the lights off a boat, and they just assumed. At that point, you have to assume everybody's hostile. Whether or not you agree with that, I'm just saying that's their doctrine. But it
Yeah,
just
I mean, I certainly get the logic. I mean, and if you're doing some clandestine operation, then that probably would be your first uh, thought. But yeah,
right. And, special operations missions like that happen all the time, but I cannot believe this one got greenlit. It's also, I mean, not to compare it, the only thing we have that's even comparable is the Obama raid. So, when Obama raided Pakistan to get Osama bin Laden, um, Pakistan's a nuclear power, right? So, you know, if
oh
we
yeah,
if we go on a raid to get Osama bin Laden and we end up running with like Pakistani military men, apparently Obama was willing to go to war with Pakistan in to get Osama bin Laden, evidently. And that's really the only thing we have to even remotely compare this to. So it just kind of makes you wonder: was he willing to go to war with North? Probably. So, but who knows? Who knows?
yeah. I mean, it just seems beyond reckless. And on the Obama thing, I get that finding Osama bin Laden is a huge. It's a huge victory. It's also a huge symbolic victory. Was it worth risking war with Pakistan? I guess so, because we didn't go to war with Pakistan, but yeah, I mean, it was ballsy. That's for
Well,
certain.
that was one that if I'm remembering correctly, because the interview where I heard that in is it's been a while. If I remember it correctly, Osama bin Laden wasn't staying with like Pakistani military members or Pakistani civilians. He was just in Pakistan, and what they were worried about is on the exfil, like the exiting of the house, the compound, that if they ran into the Pakistani military, what's the strategy? Because the SEAL team was preparing to just like hunker down and like basically like surrender and then get extradited to the United States, right, for an illegal whatever. That
Hmm.
was their plan, and then Obama was like, "I'm not having you guys surrender." So he basically was like, "Let's develop plans in case we have to go to war with Pakistan," like in that moment. And not like literal war, like constant war where we're gonna topple the government. Just like like how much firepower do you need to get the fuck out of there? That type of thing. So I'm being a little dramatic when I say war, but I mean, hell, to me that constitutes war from the Pakistani point. But and it never
Yeah,
happened. So
yeah, and thank goodness it did. But now that I think about it, even if they were caught, and if maybe a SEAL died at the hands of a Pakistani military man, and then we likely killed a bunch of Pakistanis. I don't think it. I think it wouldn't probably develop much further than that. Like
probably not.
the SEALs would be able to exit, relations would be strained for a long time, but ultimately, like, what's Pakistan gonna do? I mean, they have
Right.
nukes, but I mean, do they even have the long range? Do they even have the ability to reach the continental U.S. With their nukes? I'm not even sure they do.
I don't think so.
I
I don't.
could
I
be
don't
wrong.
think they have the power projection to actually hit the mainland. You know, but if you hey, if Iran can, let me tell you, Pakistan. No, I'm being facetious, but
Well, I tell you, in defense of Iran, they seem. I think their average IQ is probably a bit higher than the Pakistani average IQ. So if somebody's gonna develop it, it'd probably be the Iranians and not the Pakistanis.
that's actually hilarious that you said that. But all right, let's switch gears a little bit. Um, did you see any of this Democrat? So there's a lot of influencers that lean on the left. Did you see any of this big money that was shuffled their way?
Yeah, the chorus gate, I guess we can
Yeah,
call it.
Chorus Gate.
I'm I have mixed feelings about it. Uh, I don't think it's that big a deal because I doubt that these people were. I don't think they editorialized in a way that they were. I don't really think they were restricting that much of what they would have said, anyways. Because from the creators it put out, like David Pakman being the best example. I mean, he's just like some center liberal, so I don't know the constraints that were levied on all these creators, but uh, to me, I'm sure they're not saying anything they otherwise wouldn't have, you know.
Right. I mean, for
So
me, here's the thing. I mean, just for the audience who doesn't know, there was an attempt by uh, Chorus and I think Brian Tyler Cohen, especially as an influencer, is kind of leading the charge on this. The goal is to have a Republican app, or sorry, a Democratic influencer system that is integrated into the Democratic Party strategy. So basically, it's supposed to integrate influencers with the Democratic Party in the similar way that you see, Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro and all those people. They're talking with Republican congressmen, Republican National Convention people. That's the idea. And it gave these influencers a stipend of about $8,000 a month. And from what I saw, it had almost 100. total influencers in the program, and it's supposed to do more than that. There's also a like, here's how to upload, here's how to streamline, here's how to like target certain demographics. It's almost like media training for young influencers, especially. That's kind of their target. Is they're trying to get all these young influencers. That way, in 5 years, when they're big influencers, they're, fully trained and they have all the talking points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem, right? When you give someone $8,000 a month and you say that there's no strings attached, you're full of shit. You're talking about $96,000 a year, a person. You're so unbelievably full of shit. I don't buy that for a second. It's really just what were the strings, and to me, you're mandated not to disclose that you're in the program or how much money you're getting, right? I
Mm-hmm.
that's the issue with me. Because I kind of agree with you. I don't know that there's much content moderation as people are making it sound. The left is kind of going bazonkas right now because they think that they're, oh, well, all these people are pro Israel, pro, that's bullshit. David Pakman is not as pro, he's not as pro Palestine as the Kool-Aid drinkers on the left, but I mean, give me a break. Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I'm just rambling at this point because I truly do see both sides. I mean, I'm still against it just for this the principle that they did not disclose it. I'm like, I have to oppose this now. So
It's one of these things. It's like, okay, I don't think what happened was like some terrible ethical breach, but like, why keep it in the dark, because it was going to come out and then it's just going to make everyone involved look so shady. But ultimately, I mean, it's really not all that scandalous. I mean, it's basically the equivalent of like TPUSA almost.
well, that's
Like,
almost explicitly the goal, right? Is we want something like that on the left.
yeah, exactly. So, like, why even make it a secret? Just put it out there in the open. And look, everybody knows the score with TPUSA. You can say a lot of things, but you can't go too hard on Israel. That's pretty much the one really big red line. Everybody knows it, and I'm sure that was probably there's probably some similar red lines given to these creators on the left, and if I mean I'm not a fan of that, but if that's what they want to do, well, that's their prerogative. So yeah, I mean, they just made themselves look bad by trying to keep it clandestine. They should have just been out in the open. They're party shills, and that's okay. But
Yeah, and that's
uh,
what these people are, right? I mean, here's the thing too. If what Taylor Lorenz printed was bullshit, here's exactly what would have happened. Chorus or David Pakman or Cohen would have taken the contract and they would have given it to Wired and they would have said, "Hey, you misrepresented what's in our contracts. Here's what's in mine. Uh, that would have happened, and then you know what Wired would have did because Wired is like a real institution. I mean, they're not like the New York Times, right? But they would have looked at that if that were true, and they would have been like, okay, we will post a retraction because it turns out that our sources were wrong, and we're sorry. Um, right? That's how journalism works, right? But
oh
they
yeah,
haven't done that, and we can't help but ask ourselves why, right? We're not saying that you have to release these contracts to the public, right? So I don't know. I tend to believe them that there is at least some now I don't know the specific strings that were attached, and I don't think that it's even claimed in the article. People can make their own estimation. I'm sure what you said has some merit to it, right? But at the end of the day, those influencers, I think for the most part, are going to say what they want to say on 99% of the issues.
Yeah, I mean, uh, I saw that one of the things they were required to do is they had to get in these like messaging group chats where they led by I believe Cohen
Correct. Yep.
and I think from there they would kind of be like, you can say this and that. So I mean there was some, you know, editorializing, I guess you could call it, but again, nothing that bad. Here's the thing though. Here's the thing though, that if I am gonna I've been kind of playing softball with them. So if I'm gonna criticize them, here's how I'll criticize them. These people call themselves independent creators. I mean, you're not really independent. I don't know. There's something about this that makes me feel like you can't really call yourself independent if you're being funded by, all these, billionaires that aren't disclosed or whomever, I mean, you are this is really just the MSM but with more steps. Ultimately, if the messaging is
Without the
controlled.
legitimacy, right? Without the
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So, like, why not just have the mainstream media? And I get that people get their news in different ways now, but yeah, it just seems silly. I mean,
Well, and that's why I have a bone to pick with some of these people. So particularly David Pakman. I'm an avid David Pakman listener, at least before or sorry, yeah, since before 2025. I haven't really listened to him much this year. But not because of this, obviously, because this just broke, but part of his branding is that he's independent media, and the implication there is that it's a grassroots funded thing. So like he's funded by his viewers, right? Which I admit can have kind of problems of its own because you're kind of incentivized to have an echo chamber, right? But that aside, right? The idea is that like I'm not getting outside money without telling you, like through my sponsors, like and they'll read ads, right?
hmm
Whenever you have somebody giving you 100 grand a year, which I understand is that ain't no $400,000 a month that Tim Pool was getting, right? But if you're getting 100 grand a year and you hid that from your audience, and then whenever it came out and basically you got shamed into talking about it, how am I supposed to trust you? And then he offered no evidence in that video. He just said it's complete lies. And I'm like, okay, if it's a lie, like you can prove it, right? Or will Chorus not let you prove it? In which case, why won't you say that? Oh, because Chorus won't let you say that. And those are all hypotheticals. I don't really know, obviously, but like, how am I supposed to trust you? That's my big thing. Because this would totally, if this happened to Crowder, which we all know he's funded, right? And Daily Wire is funded. If this got exposed on the right, I would have a field day sitting here talking about. So why would I give you any charity? What? Because you're a
yeah,
Democrat and you align with me a little bit more? I was like, go fuck yourself. This is disgusting.
yeah, yeah,
This would
I,
this would be no issue if you just disclosed it. This would be no issue at all. But because you're such, I don't know, it's such hypocrisy. Because David Patman will say, "Well, this is what I've been calling for years." No, it's not. Like, no, it's you did not call for a secret dark money probe to launch for young creators and then keep it secret. I mean, no, that is not what you've been calling for.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just silly. I mean, at the risk of repeating myself, it's just the whole independent creator thing is just silly at this point because if you're not going to, if you're going to be part of some larger organization that's controlling what you say, most likely, then there's really no point in doing what you've been doing because you're not independent. So, I mean,
Right.
but that's really all the thoughts I had on it. I don't think it's like some great ethical breach. Ultimately, I think it's pretty benign, but it just does call into how silly this podcast era is and has been, where you know there's really no value to these independent creators. You're not going to hear anything all that unique. Not to say that there aren't actual independent creators out there, but we got away from the mainstream media, and there have certainly been some benefits, but I just felt I don't know if I mean I think the benefits do outweigh the cons, but to what extent I don't quite know.
Right, right. No, I get you. I get you. Um, I don't know. It's I got pretty heated there because I was pretty pissed off. Because when I read this, I was like, oh God, this is just so embarrassing. I mean, my God. But Wired, for what it's worth, Wired hasn't had to retract anything, at least not yet. So you know, it's appears to be standing up to scrutiny. So at least so far, who knows? Maybe the courts will settle that out. But we can move on to anything else you want to talk about, or if there's anything else you read or saw this week that'd be funny.
Oh, let's see. I think this was really all I had on my docket. Was there anything else you'd seen?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this one up because I think it's a little funny. So it's not funny, it's actually horrible. But these did you see the story about the farmers in Arkansas in their little town hall meeting that they had?
I don't believe I did. No, what happened?
So this is crazy. So and because of this global trade war and these tariffs and these specifically retaliatory tariffs, right? Farmers in Arkansas have been priced out of markets in
Yeah.
China, in Vietnam, in South Korea, in Japan, right, all over the world, because Arkansas, their biggest, like one of their biggest parts of their economy is agriculture, and
Hmm.
they're down like 6% as a whole because of this. The ag industry, they don't even know how much is down because they can't get an accurate calculation because it's struggling so bad. Because the cost of repairing their equipment is rising, and oh, sorry about that. The cost of doing business is rising because they're getting priced out. So soybeans, rice, grain, all of that they grow in Arkansas, their main competitor is Brazil. And with the tariffs, that so our soybean and stuff is actually cheaper than Brazil, but with the tariffs it's more expensive, so they're priced out of their markets, right? So now
Hmm.
they can't sell it in America domestically because then the price will drop domestically and then everybody's fucked, right? It's
Yeah.
very common in farming and agriculture. So they're basically like, you caused this, federal government, write us a check. Because if you don't write us a check, then we're like, they're saying as much as two-thirds could go out of business, 25% to two-thirds, depending on how much debt they're going to have to get from a bank.
Hmm.
So they're basically pleading. It's very sad because these people voted for Trump almost unanimously, almost to a person in that room, voted for this trade war, voted for the tariffs, and it's now going to cause them, their sixth generation farm, their third generation farm, you know. It's hard to feel sympathetic to these people because they literally voted for their entire thought process was, "Oh, this isn't going to hurt me. This is going to hurt everybody else." And it's hard to be sympathetic with that mindset. So basically,
Well, I mean, if I'm being charitable here, I doubt anyone anticipated the tariffs being this stupid. I mean, the way these things work, I mean, they weren't targeted at all. So,
No, well, then you probably shouldn't vote in a guy who's capable of such a thing, right? You should probably avoid that guy at all cost. If you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously voting for Trump was not a wise decision on any of these people's part, but you know, I truly, I mean, you know me and you, we were both following the 2024 election pretty closely. I don't, you know, even when tariffs were brought up, I don't think we quite had this in mind. At least I didn't, because
Y-
I thought,
look. I mean, I'll concede nobody probably thought the extent to the tariffs would be this dramatic, right? But you still had to know tariffs were coming, right? I mean, even Soccer makes this point. He's like, you just kind of got to bite that bullet, you know? Like, you had to know that this dude was going to put crazy, stupid tariffs on. We just didn't know that they were going to be this crazy or this stupid.
yeah, I mean, I figured that there would be an extension of the tariffs he put on in his first term, but yeah, I mean, I don't know that anyone anticipated them being this stupid. I mean, because the market reaction to his win was overwhelmingly positive. So even the people that are even more clued in than us, Wall Street. I mean, if you want people who are really clued in to work, current world affairs, it's those people because money is on the line. So they price everything in. What's the probability that X happens because the current president does X and Y. So I think the small town farmer can be forgiven if thinking that the economic situation would improve. I mean, because the big wigs did as well. Now, granted, what's good for the bigwigs isn't always good for the little man, but these farmers do have access to capital, and they have many assets. So it's not like these people are poor. It's just their industry is suffering. But
Right. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I say you kind of got to give the farmers the check, but to me, it's just like it's. I hate that there's no accountability at all. You know, like that's the part. They're basically scaping out on the accountability, because they know that people are naturally sympathetic to farmers. We have to have them, right? You can't. You have to eat. So, but honestly, even if these people went under and they had to sell, um, these people would still retire millionaires. You know, like that's the land alone is worth millions for a lot of these people. So, I
oh
mean,
yeah, I mean none of them would starve, but
right.
I do. I don't know. It would be bad for them to go belly up, certainly. I mean, because all that farmland could potentially get bought by our adversaries anyways. So, then we'd have a whole other problem on our hands.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I don't know. I just it's one of those things that that it's just I feel like this is a direct consequence of your vote, right? And like it would be as like a Democrat who was like, oh my God, can you believe these fucking Democrats, dude? They're arguing for LGBTQ rights, and it's like, yeah, no shit, like like it's I don't understand what what the disconnect is, right? Like you voted for tariffs. Like these farmers probably thought these tariffs were going to be like life-saving and they're going to be like the cause of their demise.
Yeah, it is ironic. It is ironic,
I gotcha.
but but I still take the tag that they can be forgiven because truly I don't think anyone quite anticipated this. So
I may forgive them, but it's with a heavy heart. It's with a all right. Like Gosh. All
Well, you
right.
can
Well,
certainly give them an "I told you so," but
yeah, that's really all I really want. Just like an "I told you so" and here's your fucking check. Because the alternative is we let you go belly up and you lose a farm that's been in your family for generations. So, but
oh yeah, people got mad when after 2008, the banks got bailed out, but it was really for it was in everybody's best interest that they were. I mean, we could have induced an even worse financial situation for not only the country but the entire world if they weren't. So,
yeah,
you know,
what do you imagine how bad 2008 was, and now imagine that there were no bailouts. Like we probably would still be in recovery.
oh yeah,
That's probably
certainly.
exaggerating, but you know what I mean. Like,
Well, I don't think it's too far fetched. I mean, we'd probably just be getting out of it. I mean, truly, it could have been it could have been way worse. So,
oh,
I think bailing them out was the right move, even if people got pissy about it.
yeah. All right. Well, that was it for me. Any stories you got? Any final thoughts?
I think that's all for me tonight. But yeah, I think this is a good